Jessica Cejnar of the Del Norte Triplicate joining us live in the studio to discuss a lot of big things that have been happening in your life and your career recently. Mm-hmm. So tell me again, I had you outline what the grant was that you recently won. Can you run that through again for us?
Sure. Well, actually, I really won 2 grants. Sorry.
No, what? That's great. Okay.
So I really won 2 grants. The first grant that I won, they're both with the USC Annenberg Center for Health Journalism.
Okay.
And the first grant was so that I could take part in a fellowship at USC. It was a week of different workshops on reporting healthcare. Health issues in the state. Mm-hmm. There were workshops focusing on the Affordable Care Act and changes that may or may not happen as a result of the current administration. There were there were a couple of reporters that talked about what it was like to write about the opioid epidemic. One person in particular focused on the work that she did down in Eureka working with Hatcher, and I forget what it stands for, but they're a needle exchange program down in the Eureka area, and she did a lot of work there. Just kind of, it's a safe place for people to use, mm-hmm, basically. Mm-hmm. And then there was also a lot of different workshops on different strategies for how to reach people, how to reach sources, or write particular stories in a way that is different than what I'm used to on a daily basis. To be honest, on a day-to-day basis, anyway.
How so?
It's just kind of thinking outside of the box in terms of trying to reach people, trying to make sure that the people who need the information that you are providing will get it, mm-hmm, because not everybody is going to read it in a newspaper or see it on a particular website. I can give you an example. During one of the workshops, it was called Impact Journalism. And the woman there, she wrote for writes for Kaiser Health News, but she talked about a project she did while she was at the Seattle Times on a cluster of anencephaly deaths. Anencephaly is a condition that babies get where their brains aren't fully developed, and it's often contributed to a lack of folic acid in the mother's diet. Mm-hmm. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention had identified this particular area as a cluster for anencephaly deaths that were higher than normal. But the state health officials didn't recognize that and weren't really doing anything to address it. And so what she did, in addition to writing a series of articles about it and doing some video, she also she printed up postcards with information about what anencephaly is and how important folic acid is. And she partnered with the Catholic Church in that community and distributed 15,000 of these postcards out to the people that were attending Christmas Mass. And so that was one way that she got information to those that needed it. And so I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't yet decided what my approach is going to be, but it's stuff like that. It's just a way of better connecting with the people that are in the community that you serve.
So it's not so much about being a better journalist, right? I mean, it's not about how to properly or responsibly report on healthcare,
right,
or health issues. It's also, there's some activism involved then, right? At least as far as the community outreach goes.
I thought about that. I don't know that I would necessarily call it activism. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as I would be doing if I wrote an article. But it's just a different avenue for getting the information out. But it also forces you to think about who you're reporting on and how they contribute to what you report on and how you report it. Mm-hmm. So And it also lets them know that you're a part of their community just like they are, and that they've got a role to play in their community, in their local news organizations and stuff.
What's the other grant? You said you get
The other grant is a community engagement grant. It's for $1,000, and it's to help me reach out specifically to residents in Klamath. Particularly, I'm hoping to reach out to tribal residents in Klamath, but any Klamath residents and families, to talk about their issues with food insecurity. And it helps me do so in a way that is different than traditional reporting. So I talked about earlier about something called a listening booth. So it's basically sitting out, having a method of recording and gathering input while, it could be tabling outside of a grocery store or a food market, because there aren't any grocery stores in Klamath.
Yeah, right.
It could be it could be something like one of the ideas that I've kicked around with my community engagement editor is getting people to journal what they eat in a week or 2 weeks. Or simply asking them how much they spend on milk.
Right. Yeah,
And-
just a basic existential kind of
Right.
fact like that. Yeah.
Or like, how long does it take them to get their food? Do they, particularly for tribal people who are tribal members, do they have other ways of supplementing their diet traditionally, either through gathering or hunting or fishing or gardening? And what is that like now versus what it was 5, 10, 20 years ago? The salmon population on the Klamath River has collapsed. I mean, how has that contributed to food insecurity? Just a lot of different things. I mean, there are very many places I could take this project. It's something that I want to continue beyond. I had initially, I'm initially planning a series of 4 stories, but I feel like I could take this beyond 4 stories.
Sure. Just dealing with issues like scarcity, food scarcity, health concerns, just regionally.
Just in Del Norte
Just
County.
in Del Norte County, sure.
Yeah.
How did you get these grants, these awards, these fellowships? I mean, you're up here, you're doing your job,
Right.
you're going about your daily business, and then
They
boom.
USC does a call out for journalists every year for these fellowships, and they offer the Center for Health Journalism offers many different kinds of fellowships, and I've been kind of focusing local healthcare has been one of my beats for about 2 years now. And they've reached out to me before to try to get me to apply for this grant. And I just felt like it was the right time to do it. I had to come up with a proposal for a project and submit it to their the editor for the Center for Health Journalism, and they liked it.
Wow, what was the
apparently.
proposal then? What was the project? What you were
The
outlining
project
before?
was the project was the food insecurity project, because I was on my way home from work, and I was thinking, I live in Smith River, and Smith River's had its issues with grocery stores in the past 5 years. And I was just thinking, it's been 5 years since the Ray's Food Place closed. What's going on with that? Like, what is the deal with that? And then, I'm thinking of I was thinking about applying for this other grant, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she pointed out that, it may not be ideal, but you can make a meal in Smith River. You could go to a Dollar General. They sell frozen vegetables and meats and milk and stuff like that. Can't really do that in Klamath.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got the idea of focusing on Klamath in particular.
Now, there was a blog post that you had made
Yes.
that I saw. Is that part of the project then? Is that
It
like
is.
a first installment?
It's not the first installment. It's the first. We were asked to come up with a blog post,
Okay.
as when we were just just after we were notified that we were awarded this grant. So that's the first of several things that I'll be writing. And it's just kind of an introduction to the project. I used a lot of statistics I got from the California Center for Rural Policy at Humboldt State. They are in the middle, and I need to find out what the status is right now, but they were in the middle of conducting a food analysis, an updated food analysis of Del Norte County, the Del Norte County's food systems. And they've done that in the past too. And so that's where a lot of the statistics, like the poverty rate and the percentage of the population that is food insecure, that's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah, the CCRP does really good work that
They
way.
do
yeah.
incredibly good work, yeah.
So your pieces, when they're written, where will they be released? Where will they be found?
They'll be found in the Triplicate.
Okay.
And they'll also be found in the Pilot. Mm-hmm. And they will also be found on the Center for Health Journalism's website.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the issues that we face here with food insecurity?
There's a lot of issues. Well, for one thing, 16 Del Norte County's population, there's like 28,000 people living in Del Norte County, right? But 16.8% of them are food insecure, according to CCRP.
Wow. So that's like 3,000 of us?
Yeah.
About? Yeah.
Yeah. 29.7 of them are households with children. And
do you have a definition then as far as what the actual definition of food insecurity is?
that's something that I need to determine. And it's something I plan to do. Like, what is it? What does food insecurity mean?
Yeah.
What is a food desert? That's
Yeah.
another thing too. And food desert implies that there is no access or very difficult access to fresh, healthy food. So like things like fruits and vegetables, meats and stuff like that.
And you can find those in the inner city. You can find those in Smith River and Klamath. Yeah, exactly. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere, and they seem to be particularly prevalent here because the only grocery stores are in Crescent City.
Mm-hmm.
Gasky has Gasky Market, and I haven't been inside, so I don't really know what's sold in there. But Hyuchi has Hyuchi Hamlet.
Yeah.
Klamath has Pimay and Fuel Mart and Woodland Villa, and then Smith River has the Dollar General and La Jolla Market and the Fuel Mart.
It's interesting that you can rattle off from memory
Right.
every place in Del Norte County to buy food.
Right.
to buy groceries, and there's not a lot to memorize.
There aren't. Yeah. Another kind of interesting statistic that I found out, and I kind of knew this before, but so like I was talking with Molly Noble. She's an analyst. Am I saying that right? Analyst. Thank you. It's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
She's an analyst at CCRP, and she was saying that a lot of, for Del Norte County, like a lot of the barriers to access to healthy food is a lack of land in the county for growing food, and challenges when it comes to transporting food, and also like going to a lack of land for growing food. Only 2.8% of Del Norte County land is agricultural land, is farmland. So,
Yeah.
So if you put that, like Six Rivers National Forest accounts for 469,130 acres of Del Norte County's 644,078 acres. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Redwood National and State Park land, which is another 20%. The county's largest agricultural products, and this is all from that food analysis that I was talking about: milk and other dairy products, ornamentals, Easter lily bulbs.
So did the dairy products top the ornamentals, the Easter lilies?
Yeah, but barely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because last night there was something like we did something around $7 or $8 million in Easter lily business in Del Norte
I want to
County.
look into that. I want to look into how lucrative is the Easter lily, not just Easter lilies, but ornamentals in general. Because I don't want to just pick on the
No, of
Easter
course
lily
not. Of course not. And
industry.
And we've gotten, I mean, with Alexander and with Borges and a lot of the, the dairies out there. I think that's always struck me as being sort of a strong thing that we could produce that. But yeah, other than dairy.
But the question that I have there, how much of that is produced here? How much of that actually stays here?
Yeah. None of it. As far as I know, even if it's sold in local stores, I think it has to go out and then come back. I don't know. That's an
I'd have to
assumption.
find that out. Yeah, I'd have to find that out. And, and then it gets back to the basic question. How much does it cost? How much do people spend on a gallon of milk?
Well, because, I mean, you can't, I mean, if you're defining a food desert as a place that doesn't produce their own food, that's most of America, right? I mean, if that's going to be part of the criterion for defining a food desert?
I want to use the official term for defining a food desert, and so I'm not sure what that is yet.
Okay.
I've heard of the phrase also food swamp, and I think that has to do with the availability of unhealthy food, so like fast food and convenience food,
Okay.
versus healthy food. And I'd also like to kind of delve into a historical aspect of it too, particularly with Klamath. Has it ever had a grocery store?
Yeah, since 1964?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, this is an interesting tack to take. So then, and you've sort of alluded to these other questions and things that you want to find out more about. So what is next moving forward? You're getting into all of this.
Sure.
What are your next steps? What are the things you want to know?
My next steps are to reach out to Klamath families in particular. Kind of a theme for that aspect of it is, what do you do when there is no grocery store in your community?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a basic question. Do Klamath families and residents get enough to eat? How far do they travel, or how long do they spend trying to get food? And so my next step would be to, and I'm already working on this, is to try to reach out to people and connect with families. I've been talking with a few parents and community members down there, and they've all been very supportive and said that they would definitely be interested in participating. I'm also hoping to kind of use this as an opportunity to get people, if they're interested in talking to me about, whatever they're going through when it comes to feeding themselves or feeding their families, or just in general. I mean, if they want to talk to me, I'm available by phone, by email. I've started a Facebook group. They can text me. Just any way.
Do you want to share that information?
I do want to share that information.
Okay, let's share that information now. Getting a hold of Jessica Cejnar.
Yeah, getting a hold of Jessica Cejnar. So people can reach me at the Triplicate office at 707-464-2141. My email, I've set up a special email for this particular project. It's jc.food.project@gmail.com. And my cell phone number is 707-951-4908. And then I've also, like I said, I started a Facebook group yesterday. It's kind of a secret group now, but I'm going to get the word out fairly soon. The group is called Food for Thought.
Okay. But you wait for you to unveil that publicly?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it important for you to write about these things and get that? Why isn't this news out there? What's the...
I think the news is out there. I think there's been a lot of good work done around the issue of hunger and food insecurity. I don't think that people experiencing the issue are being heard from. Mm-hmm. I think that's primarily what that's my goal is to, I said in my proposal, my goal was to put a human face to the issue. It might surprise people who they are, mm-hmm. or it might not. I've thought about that too. What if What if everybody knows about this but me? You know?
Is that like a reporter's nightmare? You wake up
It's
shaking
my
from that kind of-
nightmare. I don't know if every reporter thinks this, but it's definitely my nightmare.
Hey, Tony, do you ever wake up in a cold sweat wondering, oh, everybody knows all this? Oh, wow.
Right.
That's interesting. I mean, it's surprising how many people, you said, what, the 16% or so of the 28,000
Yeah.
folks who live here are food insecure.
Yeah.
And then, thinking about if I lived in the Glen and what I'd have to do, right? If you're going to...
Well, I talked to one person and she's like, some people, they don't have a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Just getting to Pamay is a 7-mile round trip.
Wow. Yeah, when in the summertime.
In the summertime, it's fine, maybe, except that there's a lot of traffic on the road, and you're walking down what is that? 169? Yeah, there's no sidewalk or no infrastructure for walking.
Mm-mm.
So you're still walking on a road. In the wintertime, landslide. I mean, they just had the massive landslide at south of or Last Chance Grade area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I for part of at least one of the storms, 169 was closed this year too.
Yeah, I believe it. And then 199 closed yesterday, and 197 closed the day before in different places. So yeah, it's a big deal.
And in a lot of ways, it seems like the problem is it affects folks who live in places like Klamath Glen, Smith River. If you zoom out enough and throw in enough wild card weather, all of Del Norte County is food insecure like that. 3 roads,
Well, and
we're out.
then the question is too. I mean, can people be self-sufficient, and what does that mean?
Yeah, no.
And has that changed? Like if you fish, what is that? How has that changed?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's. We do have, so like Ocean Air Farms. I wish Ocean Air Farms could quadruple their size and supply all of us with wonderful produce.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another question. Like fresh local produce. What is? I'm writing that down.
Yeah, hey, that one's for free.
I mean, thank you. So what is that? What is that like? How many? So there's the whole idea of the market match program at the farmers market. How many people take advantage of that? There's only a limited.
What's the market match program?
It's a program that's done through the Crescent City Farmers Market on Saturdays at the fairground does it, and then the Wednesday market through the Downtown Divas. They also do it. It basically allows people to use their EBT card to get fresh fruits and vegetables, and then it matches what they spend, so they get extra
you
fruits
get more
and vegetables.
Exactly. I've seen that. I'd like to have Paul on sometime and just ask him about, what's it like to grow all this wonderful food here in Del Norte County? And that's, I don't know. And I know that they have the food boxes and things that they do in there. So food production in Del Norte County is problematic because there's not that, as far as locally doing it, because there's not that much arable land.
Right.
And even if it were flat inland, it's not good dirt up there. I know that from living up there. It's a lot of clay and a lot of arsenic, and it's difficult to grow things.
Yeah, the actual chemical makeup of the soil isn't something that I don't know how far out that is for me at this point. But like I said, there are different places I could take this. I was thinking about, actually, it just kind of came up yesterday through a different unrelated discussion, but the Tolowa Dani Nation, the Tolowa rely on the surf smelt for part of their diet, and I know that they've had some issues there, and the tribe is doing some studies with that. I'd like to, maybe get an update on that.
It's a broad topic because you're talking about, local.
It's a fundamental. People need to eat.
And it sort of, exactly, people need to eat. But it also, you can talk about local food production. You can talk about, local hunting and fishing.
Right.
That's also food production. And historically, culturally with Tolowa and Yurok. But then also you get into, economics and capitalism and who's going to open a market in Klamath and what's their profit margin going to be. And it's just, And
then, I don't want to just focus on the problems.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about what's working. You know, are there things that are working? Are there things that have been successful? I know we've got a strong food bank system here.
Yeah.
Is that the way to go? I don't know. I don't have those answers.
That's why you get the fellowship, is to find things out
Right.
like that. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So who should hear these? Who should hear these articles? Who should read these?
Residents, just anybody, residents in Klamath, residents, and if you care about food issues, if you have trouble making ends meet, if you have to choose between paying the electric bill and I got to make sure my kids have milk in the fridge. Policymakers,
Exactly. Yeah.
the board of supervisors, the city council, the school board. I'd also like to look at the local, and kind of beyond the food safety net system, just, organizations like Building Healthy Communities, like the Community Food Council. What are they doing, and is what they're doing sustainable? Because I know that Building Healthy Communities was only supposed to be up here for a certain number of years.
Yeah, it sunsets next year, 2020. Yeah. And I know for, at least as far as their endeavor with the YTA, that they've been partnering with organizations like KFUG and other
Right.
to sort of make it sustainable so that when they're gone, there are nonprofits here locally to continue it. And I'm wondering if they're also doing that on the other side with help. I'm sure they are.
Right, and I'd be curious to find out, because what was their objective when they originally started up here, and how has that changed?
It's great because I also want to have that discussion. I want to have Geneva on and Geneva Wiki and talk to her. She's going to be on Mike's show on Monday, so there
right
may be a
on.
lot of that there.
Great. Great.
But yeah, building healthy communities, which is, I guess they've taken us, and they look at it more as like as a health issue, as to a specific food issue, although that's part of it.
The interesting thing about Building Healthy Communities, and that whole, it's part of the California Endowment, which incidentally also funded this fellowship, or was a major funder for the fellowship that I got. And they are kind of based on the notion that how healthy you are is based on where you live.
Yeah, the zip code thing
Yeah.
that they have, where
And so Tony Eiton, he's Dr. Tony Eiton. I forget exactly what his title is with the California Endowment. I think he helped found it. Or if he didn't help found it, he's right up there with it. He was one of the speakers at the fellowship I was at, and he talked about, the different life expectancies in different areas and how drastically different they are. And so that's another thing I'm curious about.
Yeah. So in your writing, in your approach, okay, so you write for the Triplicate, you write about local stuff here.
Right.
You said earlier that you don't want to just focus on writing about the problems.
Right.
So you're also going to what? Offer solutions or offer examples of things that work from elsewhere? And that seems fundamentally different from the kind of just daily paper writing that you do.
I'm not going to offer solutions.
Okay.
I don't think that's my job.
Okay.
I'm not an expert. I'm going to see. First of all, I want to know how people are, how families are addressing the issue. Are they coming up with unique ways to feed themselves? And if so, what are they? And, and then there's also looking at organizations like the Community Food Council, like RHS, what has worked there and what hasn't. And how have things changed over the last few years? Basically, and where do they see themselves going in the future? Is there going to be? I mean, so like a lot of the talk lately at the county board of supervisors level, the harbor, the city council has been on the removal of the 4 hydroelectric dams on the Klamath River. Well, when those get taken out, and hopefully the salmon population recovers, what's that going to look like? You know? So a lot of different things.
That's it. So you don't see as like getting into such a focused endeavor like this, that subsequent advocacy for anything isn't part of the writing. I'm looking at it as like
I don't think my job. It's not my job to advocate.
Okay.
It's not my job to be an advocate. It's my job to make sure that other people that the community is informed.
And how do you do that without just focusing on the problem?
Well, it was something called solutions-based journalism. I mean, people are focusing on the problem, and they're working to address it. I write about the problem, and I write about what's being done to try to solve it.
Exactly. Yeah. Without taking a side, but here are some. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And is that any different from what you do on the weekly with the?
Not really.
daily
It's
paper?
just it seems it's a little bit more in depth reporting than what I can, crank out on a daily basis.
Yeah, with like a day or two deadline.
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you're
Yeah.
excited about all of this?
I am super excited about all of this.
What does this mean for your career?
I don't know yet.
You don't know?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a different style of. It's not so much a different style of reporting that I'm used to. I've done in-depth stories before. It's just different in the sense that I'm focusing a lot of time on it. Whereas before, I'd write about an issue. I've written about several issues over and over again, different aspects of it, and followed certain, for example, the Klamath Dam removal. That's been kind of a more recent thing, but different issues over the years. But it always just seems like I can't stick with a particular set of people for very long unless they're like the experts. I think one of my goals is to let people in Klamath know that they can talk to me about anything. If they've anything that's of concern to them, and not necessarily just people in Klamath, just people in general. If they've got a concern or they've got a different way of looking at an issue that's been on their mind for a while, I want to hear about it.
That's interesting. So, and we were talking before we turned everything on and started recording about how that outreach could look. You're going to have to go door to door in the Glen. What do you?
I don't know if I'm going to go door to door in the Glen, but I'm definitely going to. One of it is part of it is tabling. Going to different community events, different like parent meetings through the school district or the tribe. The Yurok tribe, or just being there. One person suggested hanging out at the early Head Start down there, or even volunteering there.
If you were to say through the Yurok tribe orchestrate a community meeting, kind of a town hall sort of thing to address is that getting too into it?
Well, that was something I considered. Is holding a community forum with food involved.
I'm sorry, no,
because I'm talking about food. Food's got to be involved, right? But it's not something that I've definitively decided on yet. I want to make sure that I can do this. That it's not something that I've essentially bit off more than I can chew.
Sure. What are your worries going ahead with all of this, with the new responsibilities, the new opportunities?
Right.
What nags you in the back of your mind, if anything?
Being able to do it.
Being able to do it.
Being
in
able
what
to
way?
pull it off. Finding the time. Finding time is.
Yeah.
More than anything is what I think about.
So the fellowship funds, the grant you got, just to it's not like getting a genius grant where then you get the time because you get so much
Right.
money. They're just here basically, you
Right.
need to buy a table.
They provide, well, no, and they provide the resources. So like I'm working with, like I mentioned, my community engagement editor. I'm also working with a senior fellow as part of the fellowship. And they're both really helpful. My community engagement editor, Danielle Fox, will, she basically said, you can use me however you want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I've got that support system there, and Robin and Tony and Bryant are, Michael, they're all supportive of what I'm doing, and will help me out when I need it. Kim Fowler, our publisher, is incredibly supportive as well. So it's just, I get overwhelmed easily sometimes.
Yeah.
Or it's just looking at this and it's like, holy, what did I get myself into?
Did you? Yeah. Did you in fact bite off more than you could chew?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But you break it up into manageable steps, and it is not as daunting a task as you think it is often.
Wow. Well, best of luck, and I mean that
Thanks.
seriously. Not just best of luck, because I know you'll do a wonderful job with it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. And,
Thank you.
And you telling our story here, not just to us, but hopefully to a wider audience.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, anybody that wants to share their story or has any information or ideas or something, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Okay, run down the numbers again.
Okay, all right. So the Triplicate office is 464-2141. My cell phone, you can text me or call me, but you could text me.
But yeah. Spoken like a true millennial who never
Right.
answers the phone, right? Is that what?
No, I answer the phone. It's just I was told that it might be easier for some people to text than it would be to call.
That's true, yeah.
So,
yeah.
951-4908, and then my email is I gotta read it off because I just created it. She says, jc.food.project@gmail.com.
jc.food.project@gmail.com. You are also under your real name, Jessica Cejnar, on Facebook. So people
Right,
should like you.
I am Jessica Cejnar on Facebook, and also my Triplicate email is jcejnar@triplicate.com.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you
Great.
very much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
Jessica Cejnar from the Triplicate, who is doing a lot of great work for us here in Del Norte County. Congratulations on the fellowships and the grants and
Thanks.
the pats on the back. That had to feel good, right?
It felt great.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
All right. Before we go, tell us about the new car.
All right, yeah, okay, so
Okay, wait, stop. Before we go, tell us about the old car. What happened with that? You were on your way to buy clothes, if I remember right, for the trip to Southern California, and you made it to last chance grade, right?
No, I didn't make it to last chance grade. I made it 5-ish miles south of Crescent City where the stupid detour thing is. And I clipped the K-rail and I flipped my Corolla on its side.
Whoa. What was that like?
Scary.
I bet. Oh, my God.
Wear your seat belt.
Yes.
All of my airbags deployed, but
That had to be the scariest thing. For me, that would be the scary. No, I guess sideways.
You know what was weird? I think I hit my head. I hit my head as part of that whole thing, and I think it was on the driver's airbag.
Oh, wow.
But I don't remember it. I just know I had a bruise on my forehead and it hurt.
Oh, wow.
So that was freaky. But there were people. I was on my side. I was like, what happened? A few people, I don't remember their names, and I wish I'd gotten their names, helped me out of the car. They literally had to pull me from the car.
Ah.
Yeah. And stayed with me until the CHP got there, and the ambulance got there and took me to the hospital and got me checked out. And so it turned out I totaled that car, which I figured that I did. And my new car is a 1991 Mazda Miata with pop-up headlights, and it's an automatic,
And a convertible.
And it's a convertible, yeah. And I'm a
Wait.
dork because I named her.
Yay! All right. First off, one thing, 91, that's in great shape for a car from 1991. Fantastic.
That's what I was told, yeah.
And what's her name?
Lisbeth.
Lisbeth.
Yeah.
Why Lisbeth?
You ever read the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series?
No, I have not.
You should read it.
Really?
Yeah.
Good books?
Yes.
Okay.
Heroine's a badass named Lisbeth Salander.
Okay.
She's a hacker. She's got a photographic memory, and she is just a friggin' all around badass.
So that's what you're driving now.
That's what I'm driving now, and I like that book series because it's got a lot to do with journalism. The main character is a journalist
wow.
who's initially busted for libel, but it turns out he was framed, and so there's that aspect of it.
Is the movie any good?
The movie's pretty good.
Is it pretty?
Yeah.
The books are better.
I like the books are better. I haven't read. There's a new. I think there are 2 books out now. That's the author Stieg Larsson died, I think, in like 2005 or something. Mm-hmm. But there's a new author now that's come out with a book that's in the canon, I guess you could call it, or franchise, or whatever the heck it is. And I haven't read those yet, but the both the Swedish movies and the English version was really, really good.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Cool. Good. I mean, I don't know. Looking for a movie tonight. Maybe. I'll
Hey, you
check
should
that
watch
out.
it.
All right, cool. Jessica Cejnar, thank you so very much. And as this progresses and you start publishing articles and doing more, I certainly want to have you back on to talk
Absolutely.
about this. And if you do any sort of meeting
And
down,
I'd like to partner. I'd be willing to partner with people too.
Mm-hmm.
With Redwood Voice, the Youth Training Academy, you know.
for other media aspects of
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was going to say. If you do a town hall sort of group thing, some place where you're listening to people, we certainly want to be there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great.
Jessica, thank you.
Thanks.